Hello everybody, welcome to Wali Wonders, where we discuss about geopolitics, finance, the stock market, and all the interesting things that are going on in the world right now. We're here with geopolitical analyst and a writer, Anila Shehzad, who is a common at our channel. She'll be discussing in depth about what she thinks is going on in the world. So without further ado, let me introduce you to Anila Shehzad. Would you like to give us some words of wisdom?
Yes, thank you for having me. It's always nice to be here, and it's always really important to keep talking about things that are happening in the world, because, awareness is the basis from which we can describe our world, from which we can make the next step of decision making. And if we are not aware about whatever is happening in this, the whole, global village, we call it a global village because the world has become, in this globalization era, a space that has been so squeezed, and things have become so close together that anything happening anywhere in any part of the world is directly affecting what's happening in our world, in our countries. In just the same way, geopolitics is that big thought space which can take into account the economic facts, the sociological factors, the geographical things, the political scenarios, everything, things happening in the artificial intelligence realm. It is like allows itself to take into account all facts from anywhere that will let it describe what is happening in the world, how the world is going on.
That is great, Anila, hearing about geopolitics and its importance, especially in the third world countries. People don't really recognize the importance of geopolitics. In a country that we grew up, Pakistan, there is no subject known as geopolitics, and people don't really care about what is happening other way around the world. But the point is that we're all affected by the system. Some people call it the matrix, but we call it like the Western European system that we have been enslaved to. The USA, when the Second World War happened, the USA had enough power to invade any country that they wanted. They could invade that country, but the thing that they chose was to give debt to those nations. Although America helped build the world after World War II, but it also indebted everyone. And from there, this new system starts of inflation, of repression, of a third world country and a first world country. All these terms have stuck to our nation and our people, and we're still suffering from all this. So today we have got a list of diverse topics that we want to discuss. What is happening between Russia and Trump? We want to discuss the Trump tariffs. We want to discuss what is going on with gold and the audit that is going to happen. And we also want to discuss the future of Europe. All these topics we usually discuss in our podcast, but today it's going to be a different segment because we're going to play a few clips in the beginning, and then we're going to have a nice little discussion about it. So the first clip I want to talk about is of Bernie Sanders, and he's talking about Trump being in bed with Putin. Putin was the number one enemy of America, and now Putin seems to be the best friend of Donald Trump, and they're talking every day, having some cozy discussions. So Bernie Sanders is on the case, and he's talking about this.
For joining me to discuss a very, very serious issue. Yesterday, we witnessed an extremely sad moment in American history. We saw the President of the United States aligning himself with the dictator of Russia, Vladimir Putin, to undermine the independence of Ukraine and its democracy. Let's be clear. Trump is showing us that he sees one of the world's most brutal dictators as his friend, and our longtime democratic allies in Europe as his enemies. He wants a world that is safe for authoritarians and oligarchs, but extremely dangerous for democracies.
That was an interesting take from Bernie Sanders. What do you think about that?
Well, that brings me to the basic question of what really democracy is. Because if you look at the US, that poses to be and boasts to be the biggest, one of the biggest democracies and the oldest democracies of the world, there is actually just a two-party system in this country. And a lot of research and a lot of work has been done on how the US works as a democracy, and many people have come up with research and opinions that US is actually not a democracy at all. It is a completely a dictatorship. And you know what, Trump and Elon Musk, they are finding out with all their digging into this, the Dodge Institute that they have made, and every day they are finding out how corrupt the US system has been, how people have been taking out money from it, and how policies have not been made for the welfare of the people. So democracy means the welfare of the people. If your policies are for the welfare of very big business communities and the rich people and the political elite and the defense industry, and not for the people. The people in America are actually getting poorer and poorer because of the inflation and because of the economic instability of that country. So how can Bernie Sanders just say that Putin is a dictator if Putin is inducting policies in the country that will ensure the welfare of his people? Like every other day we find Russia to be a more powerful country. Like every day we are finding Russia to be a more powerful country in the defense sector and in the economic sector. Just like BRICS, Russia has also initiated its own economic, platform by the name of SPIEF, which was it had a big, conference last year, and something like 90 to 100 countries attended that conference, and people were ready. All of the world countries were ready to do business with and new trade pacts with Russia.
I guess that's not what Bernie Sanders was saying. I guess Bernie Sanders is against the fact that Trump is in bed with his worst enemies. And if it wasn't for Biden, America wouldn't have spent like $350 billion on Ukraine. And especially Trump is not in talking terms with Zelensky. He's calling Zelensky a dictator. So we appreciate what Trump is doing, and we think that Putin was always on the right side of this conflict. And people will remember Putin to be the greater personality. But why is this sudden shift in the US policy that it does not want to protect the Europeans and it's leaving the Europeans to fend for themselves? While they're making deals with Russia, we also heard that for the rare earth minerals, Russia might be okay for America and maybe Vanguard or BlackRock to build Ukraine again. They're okay with that, but they want the rare earth minerals for themselves as well. So they're making a deal with Trump that, okay, build whatever you want. Trump also wants the rare earth minerals and all the wealth that Ukrainians have. And Russia is just saying that, share the wealth with me whenever you're mining or whenever you're stealing something, just give me some cut from that. So would you like to add something?
So, yes, you're right. I was listening to some analysts from the Western side, and, some of them were saying that it seems like Trump is purposely setting Europe into a declining position, in trying to make it something like a third world, because this whole Ukraine-Russia war has actually hurt Europe the most. And the same Germany that was considered to be the biggest, powerhouse or industrial hub of Europe is right now like in a total economic turmoil. And it's not just Germany. So many countries of Europe have suffered from bailouts. And many analysts have repeatedly been saying that these bailouts that have been given to Greece and Iceland and other countries in Europe have ensured that these countries are not going to come back into like growth model and again for many decades, because they are literally so in debt by this IMF and the World Bank and all this and the European Union. So what is this new policy change? What is this new world order that the Trump administration is trying to make? Europe was completely like taken out of the Russia-Ukraine peace talks. And there was a minister in Europe who said that we have been sent questionnaires, literally, to fill up. And we were literally not, any of us was not invited to participate in the peace talks. And again, this thing about the rare earth minerals is that Trump has asked Zelensky to sign an agreement with him that US is going to take out all the rare earth minerals from Ukraine. And what Zelensky has done is he said that I am ready to resign, but I'm not going to sign this rare earth mineral deal. And I don't know if Russia is also involved in that, like you were saying, maybe that's the case. But Zelensky has found that his role has been totally cut out, and this rare earth deal, what it was that Trump asked Zelensky that sign this deal with me, that I'm going to take, the US is going to take all the rare earth minerals from Ukraine. And what Zelensky has said in return is that he's going to resign. He's ready to resign from his position, but he's not going to sign that deal.
That's a really nice point, and I would like to add this video that I saw from Yanis Varoufakis. They printed $6 trillion and gave it to the banks. So this guy is also explaining the decline of Europe and all the financial system and how the Europeans are also enslaved to the system that is going to destroy them once and for all. So let's just quickly watch this video.
The reason why your social services are diminishing and so on is this process of austerity for the many and large socialism, in inverted commas, for the very few. They printed 6 trillion euros to give to the bankers. The bankers gave it to the big business. The big business did not invest it. Why did they not invest it? Because they looked at all of us around Europe and they said, these people don't have money. So as if we are going to invest in products that these people can't afford. So what did they do with these 6 trillion euros? They went to the stock exchange and bought their own shares. Their shares went up, they didn't invest anything. And you know what? Guess what? Europe, for 15 years, has not invested in anything. Zero net investment in Europe. This has never happened in the history of the universe, not the world. To have such a rich continent with all these savings and money, and profits, and real estate, not investing. But the Chinese and the Americans invested in greener technologies, in what I call cloud capital, algorithms, AI, and all that. And you know what? We've become the stupid continent. We missed out on one whole technological revolution. After all these 15 years, a steady process of secular stagnation. This is not a crisis that will go down and then will go up. For the next 50 years, we're condemned to stagnate as a continent. When a continent like Europe, which is so powerful and so rich, stagnates, what happens is the politics starts fragmenting. So the reason why we are so complacent, the reason why the far right is rising everywhere, universally.
So that's a very great point that Yanis just told us. He's telling us about how American companies are far better than Europe because Europe hasn't had any net investment in the past 15 years. And plus, Europe has missed on a lot of technological revolutions that are of the century. We see that Europe was making cars in the 1930s, Mercedes, BMW, but they can't make an electric vehicle in this day and age. at the price, at the competitiveness of the Chinese or the Americans. And most of the companies based in China and America and other parts of the world are leading this industrial revolution. Yanis is saying that they're taking out loans from their own central banks and then putting those loans into their own companies, and they're pushing the stock prices higher, which is a technique that these big financial guys have been doing for years. But what is a number on the stock market doesn't represent anything if the people living in that country are suffering day by day. If the stock market is at all-time high, but the people are at an all-time low, what does that prove? That proves that we are in a bubble. We are headed towards a Great Depression. And stagflation is a very great term. The person who created the term stagflation actually won a few awards for his economic contributions. And what stagflation says is that the prices keep on rising. But because the economies are falling, the currencies are falling, so the prices keep on increasing. But there's no one in the market who can buy the product. Inflation starts with prices being higher, and some of the speculators and all the businessmen think that our product or commodity is going to get higher, so they bulk purchase those things. They keep it with themselves and sell it after 6 months for a premium. But there comes a time when they have all the things, all the cars in a showroom, but the prices are so high that no one is willing to even buy it for like 50% off. And they can't sell it at a discounted rate because the cost is too high. So stagflation could really hurt the European economy. What do you think about this?
Yes, what you're saying is like pointing to the fact that in the coming decade and in the coming years, in the near future, Europe is going to become more and more irrelevant in global politics because Europe has not taken care of itself. It's been too much over-dependent on the United States, not only for its security, but also for all the industrial, products, because it's been purchasing from China, it's been purchasing from all over the world, and they thought that they don't have to do any work themselves. The US is a little bit different because they have kept a few industries. They have kept the military industrial complex, they've kept the Silicon Valley, they've kept the artificial intelligence, and they are like really working in those fields at least. But Europe is like lagging behind in most of all these technologies. They purchased the 4G, but they didn't do that. But this shows that they don't have. So Europe is becoming more and more like irrelevant, and the US is like because of Trump's isolationist policies, because of Trump's unilateral policies, Trump is actually dragging the US swiftly, like is dragging the US apart from Europe, and Trump is like in this delusion that maybe it can just survive on its own. Maybe it doesn't need its allies anymore. Maybe it can like do whatever it wants without any friends. When the other side, if you look at Russia and you look at China, what they are doing is that they are adding friends to their friend list every day. BRICS is expanding very fastly. There are 10 plus members in it already. Indonesia just entered BRICS a few weeks ago, I think, which is the biggest Muslim population country. And so many other countries are in the list. They want to become part of BRICS. So what is the very stark difference between the policy presented by the US, presented by Pentagon maybe, because there's also a deep state in the US, like there's a deep state in every country, I think. And you can't say that Trump is solely running all the policies of the United States. There is this deep state, and that deep state is, I think, thinking that today is a new world where the US can survive on its own, which is going to be a very difficult thing, and they're going to suffer from that.
That's a very good point, but I think that the deep state does not care about a country like USA. They don't care about themselves, or they don't care about a particular European country, but they're more in line with all these billionaires that are running those companies, and especially with companies that are over $1 trillion. That is so much wealth that even all of the nations combined could not exceed the GDP or the revenue of these companies. So coming back, this might be a Trump thing, not a deep state thing. Trump might want to leave Europe alone because Trump can't save everybody. Trump can only save himself. German's Deutsche Bank has $180 trillion of loans on their balance sheet, and some odd $30-40 trillion of those loans are already considered bad debts. Greece has been taking loan. Spain has been taking loan. France was actually better 50 years ago. If you walk the street of France 50 years ago, you would have had a better life standard than you would have right now. They're going through a phase where their quality of living and their life standards are decreasing day by day. What their parents used to have, they can't have it now. And with Russia cutting off all the energy from Europe, who cares about Europe now? Because Europe cannot manufacture like they used to. Europe, also Germany, with their own policies as well. It's not just that it's because of Russia. Most of the nuclear plants that were in Germany were discarded, and they were closed down before the conflict began. So in a way, they put themselves in a situation that they would have to rely on Russia. And now, with the war and everything, and the devastation, now they have no place to go. If they want to start something on their own, maybe a mine would take 15 years, maybe an energy project would take 5 to 10 years, maybe an infrastructure project could take 30 years. But no one is willing to give that amount of time to Europe, plus with their declining population, and plus there's more people above 40 or 50 or 60 than there are people below that age. So the young people are trying to go through their lives already in such a big hassle and with so much financial constraints, and now they have to take care of a growing number of adults with whatever you call it, social security or socialist policies. So coming to the next video. This video is about Trump, and he has discovered a very beautiful thing. Let me just play.
The record topper, there is one person on Social Security who's 360 years old, which is approximately 110 years older than our country.
You heard Trump say that there's a person who is like 110 years older than the country, and he's on Social Security. What do you think about that?
Well, I literally am wordless, because we used to think that countries, third world countries, maybe developing countries like ours, we are corrupt, as our systems are totally corrupt, and things like that are happening. We used to say that there are so many schools in the rural areas where there are ghost schools and ghost teachers, and who are getting paid, who are getting their salaries, and but there's no school, and there's no teaching or education going over there. And is the same happening in the US? Are there same so many thousands and thousands of people are registered as employees of government organizations, other organizations that Dodge is finding out that they are employees who have been getting salaries for years and years, and they have not ever shown up for their work. So you were talking about that email, yes?
Email, yes. I want to play this clip as well. This is from CBS News. And recently, Trump did this very intellectual thing that he gave an email to all the government employees to tell them what they were doing. And this is a very interesting thing. Let's go to the video. Let me play it.
Last week, the email demands employees list 5 things that they accomplished. The directive, previewed in a post by Elon Musk on X, threatens, quote, failure to respond will be taken as a resignation, close quote. And by the way, there's a deadline, a ticking clock here, midnight tonight. So here's the fallout. 5 agencies encouraging employees not to respond. The Department of Defense, the FBI, and the Department of National Intelligence among them. Those are some heavy hitter organizations there on your screen. So let's go live to CBS News White House.
And this might be a very clever plan at Elon's part. But the point is that even in FBI and CIA, there must be a lot of people that are not even registered. They're not even coming to their organization. And they have put an extra number of people on their payrolls. And now when they have to respond what they have done for the past week, especially the CIA and FBI, there might be so many people that do not even exist in the first place. Then there are a lot of people who are just doing nothing, doom scrolling, or coming to work and just talking to each other. There's both parts of America. There's a part in America which is very business oriented and which is very capitalist and where you have to work all the time. There are many people who just pass by their time, they're government employees, and they just go and listen to a few calls, do a few emails, and most of the time they're not even responding, they're not even worried about what is going on with the job, they're just watching a video or two and coming home. So what do you think about this?
Like, it seems so much like Pakistan, you know. I think US is the new Pakistan.
Every time when we see this sort of news coming from USA. But it's also a thing that we need to understand that whatever problems the third world is facing, America is facing them on like 100 times the scale. Because we don't have any money. How much government employees can we have? We still have a lot of government employees. And most of these people in the age of AI, a lot of people in the government are just bookkeeping. They don't need so many people just to sit there. And plus, when people are manually transferring one file to another person, and then that other person is manually giving the file to another person, and what are they doing? They're just verifying or checking or adding their recommendation. That's a process that is like a very old process that cannot continue.
Really interesting that the way you said it, that a country like Pakistan, I mentioned before also that we have debt of almost like $0.225 trillion. And the US has a debt of $36 trillion. So you're right, they have bigger problems. They have bigger corruptions also. And the real thing that we should mention over here is that the US used to pose as the biggest, democracy, and still Trump says that we are the greatest nation and we are the greatest people. And they used to like boost and they used to tell the whole world community that we are living the best life and others need to emulate us. They should follow us, follow our ways. And that is exactly what happened, because this whole social trends that have emerged are all being taken from the Hollywood and from the Western, media and all that. So we have taken a lot from them, and we have not been able to recognize that those systems that we were idealizing for so many years were actually the most corrupt system, writing about the porn industry, which is like so huge, and it is literally like destroying the family systems. It is literally destroying people, relationships between the people, and people are not being able to like go on with their marriages because of this porn industry. And what we have found is, the research has found that most of this industry is based in European countries, some particular European countries, and the United States and Israel. So this is the thing, that these are the things that we are coming to see now, that whatever we were idealizing was actually a very big, a very beautiful facade, and inside that facade was the most corrupt system. Economically, you can say, morally, you can say, and politically, you can say that it was such a corrupt system.
And the people who are running all these adult websites are some of the most heinous people, and child trafficking and abuse and all these things occur in a very regular scale, and all these people who leave the industry are telling these horrific experiences that they have in that place. So coming back to America, we have Colonel Douglas Macgregor talking on the tariffs. Trump is putting some tariffs on China, Russia, Mexico, Iran, any country that he can name, he's putting a tariff on it. So let's just hear what Colonel Douglas Macgregor needs to say.
Big problem. People say, well, we have to punish these people. Why do we have to punish China? China's exports to the global south and BRICS countries reached a seasonally adjusted annual rate of $1.6 trillion a year. That's nearly 4 times China's exports to the United States, and more than the combined total of China's exports to the United States, Europe, and Japan. How do you punish China? China has moved on. It is expanded, it is adjusted, it's prepared to deal with us on a far less advantageous plane than the one we previously enjoyed. It's very similar to Russia. Remember, we're going to harm Russia. That's what we're helping all of these Ukrainians to do. We're going to harm Russia. We're going to degrade Russia. And what have we done? Russia has profited. Ukraine is destroyed. It's in ruins. We've lost hundreds of billions of dollars, and we're responsible for the deaths of at least 600,000 Ukrainian soldiers, probably 1.2 to 1.5 million wounded, and the nation is gone. Millions of people have left. It's not going to recover anytime soon. And Russia is sitting on top of what it wanted, which was essentially areas where Russians live to protect the Russian population. And contrary to expectation, it hasn't advanced west because it doesn't want to conquer Eastern Europe, which it never did. So what we have today, I think, in China and in Russia are the very opposite of the things that we anticipated. So the whole idea of sanctioning, threatening, bullying has got to go away. It just won't work.
Yes, that was an interesting take by Colonel Douglas Macgregor. And he's right that America has been bullying all these other nations since such a long while, especially since the Cold War ended. And now this bullying has to stop. Because he's right that with the Ukraine issue, how much money they spent and how much they lost, and there's no country, and Russia is still on the top. China will be on the top. It might be Trump's imagination that by putting 25% tariffs, he could shift the balance in the short term somehow.
He's also said, made another bully. He has said to these all the BRICS countries that he's going to put 100% or maybe 150% tariff if these people, any big country, do any move to take the dollar off its supreme position and try to make another currency or a currency basket or something like that. So what's going to happen? I mean, the more you threaten these people, the more they are going to be adamant and sure that they want an alternative system. So I don't know how there are so many think tanks in the United States and so many policy makers and so many, game makers, but they don't understand the game that they're playing and how they're making all the wrong bets. So that's the thing, I think.
That's a very great point. And on the America being a superpower and having all the finances and everything in the world. Now, recently, there's another news that Trump wants to go into Fort Knox, which is supposedly holding 50% of America's gold reserves. And now we are even not sure that the gold is there. There has been this conspiracy theory that all the gold bars have been replaced by tungsten bars, which are similar in size and in weight, and they're just plated with gold. So if you just do a simple weight check, all the tungsten bars would come out to be like the correct weight. But this happened in a few years ago when China received this 83 tons of gold from United States or the Europe, and they found out that all those bars were filled with tungsten and there was just gold plated over them. And there this conspiracy began. Why wouldn't Fort Knox have those types of bars? And let's just quickly play the video and then I'll give my 2 cents on it.
Fort Knox, I'm going to go with Elon. And would anybody like to join us? Because we want to see if the gold is still there. We want to see. Wouldn't that be terrible? We open up this Fort Knox. It's just solid granite that's 5 feet thick. The front door, you need 6 Musclemen to open it up. I don't even think they have windows. Wouldn't that be terrible if we opened it up and there was no gold there? So we're going to open those doors. We're going to take a look, and if there's 27 tons of gold, we'll be very happy. I don't know how the hell we're going to measure it, but that's okay. We want to see lots of nice, beautiful, shiny gold in Fort Knox. Don't be totally surprised. We open the door, we'll say, there's nothing here. They stole this too.
So, yes, America needs to get its own books in order. They don't even know that they have the gold. Some people say when in the 70s, when they got off the Bretton Woods standard, USA loaned its own gold to some private investors or to other countries like London or Germany, all these places. And is the government hiding something? Usually, 99% of the time we see when government tries to hide something, there's very nefarious things that are happening in the background. And why, when gold is around $3,000 an ounce, is the Fort Knox gold being valued at $43 an ounce? So, in a way, Trump really wants to find out himself if they have this much amount of gold.
At $43, no? Maybe they've actually
loaned it out. But if they really have that sort of a gold in Fort Knox, that could really help them, especially in the short run. If they try to revalue the gold at $3,000 or $3,500 an ounce, whatever the price might be when they open the doors to Fort Knox, they could say that for the year, if they're having a $2 trillion budget deficit, they could say that this year, the first year, they only have $500 billion of deficit. Because if they revalue the gold, they can gain $1 trillion just on the books, and they don't have to borrow more money. So that's a really interesting fact.
But, there was also this news that went viral about all the gold come from London, COMEX and the other thing, that all being shifted to the US. And when that was happening, I was thinking that maybe the US is thinking of actually trying to back its own dollar by gold. Because if China and Russia are talking about that and they want to back their new currencies by gold, maybe US is thinking that we should do that first. Like, we should be ready for that, and we should bring all the gold from wherever we can get it into the United States and fill our coffers with all that gold and make that move.
That might be what could be happening in the back doors, but from what I've heard, it's about arbitrage. like the Japanese yen carry forward trade, where they used to just, because of the difference between the currencies, they used to make a lot of profit and they could never go in loss. And this was happening for like so many years. All the big investors try to find arbitrage while trading. That's like their term. And what is happening with the COMEX and with the LBMA is that if they take the deliveries of that gold, they're secure that they have like whatever 3,000 or $2,950, whatever the spot price of gold is. And on the other hand, one of these exchanges is selling gold for a discounted price, and one of them is selling at a higher price, in simple words. So there is this arbitrage that if the big investors, and that gold does not come in like small pieces, there's like this thing that you need to have invested like $1 million, and the gold can only come in like a kilobar brick. So all the gold is, the big bars are flowing towards the big investors in the COMEX. And there's this statistics that USA has imported more gold in this month than China in all the year combined, or something like that. But as an investor, I would like to for my audience to be cautious about this, because this could be a short-term thing. The gold prices are already on a sky-high $3,000 an ounce. Usually when you do invest in some commodity, you think of it as a thing that is going to go up in price. When it's already so high in price, how high could it go? That's the question. For there to be a run on gold, there needs to be a few different things that need to be simultaneously happening, so the price just skyrockets. Maybe some of those things are already happening, but the point is that we might see in a month or two that the gold prices might fall by $50 or $100 or $200 and then continue to rise. Because this arbitrage and this London fix does not seem to be such a big problem. But on the other hand, economies are getting weaker. In Pakistan, we have gold at 3,14,000 today, which is like an all-time record. And people are still buying gold because they think that gold is going to go to 10 lakh, 12 lakh an ounce, which might be true. But why is it true? It's true because the currency, the US dollar, is ending. It's at the end of its life cycle. And they cannot print more dollars to be more successful. They need something to back it up. And now, when people who have made billions and billions of dollars in stock market, and now they want, there's a tariff war going on, there's uncertainty, currencies are falling, they want their investment to be safe. So once all these big investors, like Warren Buffett, has like $300 billion in cash sitting on the sidelines. Ray Dalio is a billionaire who is in cash right now. All these big investors who are in cash, if they say that they even want to put like 1 or 2% of that cash into gold just because they want to be safe in their portfolio, that would start a major run on gold and prices won't stop. And why are central banks accumulating gold for all this time? In the past, after the coronavirus, there has been an astronomical surge in all the central banks around the world accumulating gold, when Bitcoin should be the prevalent, the investment that the youngsters believe in. Gold is a relic. Gold is something that is traded between countries and civilizations from around 6,000 years ago. It's a tried and tested thing, but you just take gold out of a mountain, a mine, and put it back into a vault. It does nothing for you. But still, there seems to be, the conditions seem to line up so that gold might be going in a parabolic stage where prices might double, triple. We also have a few articles. Can we show that on the screen? When Roosevelt confiscated the gold in 1933, I have this news article from the 1933 on the screen as well. So this is an executive order signed by Secretary of Treasury. And they told that they want to reconfiscate the gold. And as soon as they took the gold from the people, it went from $24 to something $34 in a day or two. So it's a theft overnight. Revaluation of gold is a theft to all the people around the world. People will lose their wealth by 20%, 30% overnight. And that is not fair to the regular people. And also I would like to discuss the gold life cycle as well. When we see that gold is in a 30-year bull market cycle, and it's also in a 10-year bull market cycle. Because when we see 50 years, we go back to 1970s, on which we went off the Bretton Woods system, and gold went from $34 to $400. And when we also look at the 10-year cycle, after the financial crisis in 2008, gold went up and then gold went down to like $1,200 an ounce. But now it's been gradually increasing, and it's now at $3,000 an ounce. So imagine some person buying gold after the financial crisis when it was dipping. How rich could he have been by now? Because the prices have gone like from $1,100, $1,200 per ounce to now $3,000. That's like double, twice the investment, better than any S&P or any stock market combined.
So I think it's also good in a way that these fiat currency and the banking system and the way they've been printing the money, that is the thing that, because there was no real wealth behind that paper money, that allowed so much corruption and so much inflations and all those things. If once we change that and we put gold behind all the wealth, then maybe in the long run, it's going to be better for us, because there is not going to be that inflation thing, and we will really have real assets, and we will not have this financial instruments and this Bitcoin you were talking about, and this crypto and this stock market. They just make money out of money. Like if they have to back their assets and back their wealth with something real like gold, then they wouldn't be able to make all these instruments that just create money out of thin air. What do you think?
But then Mark Moss, this YouTuber, was saying that they don't actually show you the gold. They've been hiding it in Fort Knox for the past how many, 50 years, 60 years, and they haven't opened the vault, nor do they have any audit of the gold. But Bitcoin is being audited every 10 minutes on the blockchain. And it's transparent. Everyone knows who owns that Bitcoin and where it's coming from and where it's going. And in the case of gold, it's been sitting in vaults in Switzerland, Fort Knox, and New York vaults. And no one knows that the gold is even there. That's a really sticky thing with gold. Also, like to add the fact that Eastern civilizations and cultures tend to focus more on gold. There's this amazing statistics that Indian consumers hold 20,000 tons of gold. and Pakistani consumers own more than 6,000 tons of gold. If you take India's consumers, if you combine them, they would have more gold than USA. And if you combine the gold of Pakistani people, they would have more gold or be closer to Germany in the gold value. So yes, you're right about the fact that in the long term, and we third world countries know this for a fact, because in the 70s when inflation came, back in the world wars when the inflation came, we didn't have a currency in the first place. We were floating in free air at that time. So the only thing that helped our parents and their parents to survive and have a wealthy lifestyle or retain their wealth was the gold. And even in our culture and even in our religion, there's a significance of gold. Gold is mentioned in Quran, gold is mentioned in the Bible and the Hebrew scriptures as well. So all these things saying that it's good in a way that the people in all these poor third world countries actually do own gold, while all the Western European people are holding stocks that are going to go away in just a blip.